Hello, I'm Steve Walker, but I generally go by Grandpa. That's what I prefer. I am about to read to you The Night Before Christmas. This book was written by Clement Moore and illustrated by Renee Cloak. The Night Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap, when, out on the lawn, there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all, as dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from head to foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk and laying his finger alongside his nose and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Hi, I'm Jamie Toll, known to one special little girl as Grandpa, and I'll be reading The Polar Express, written and illustrated by Chris Van Allsburg. On Christmas Eve many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells, From outside came the sounds of a hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe, and I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand, and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of the towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed the mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over the peaks and through the valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole." The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. "They are gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That's where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He will choose one of you." "Look," shouted one of the children, "the elves!" Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing their silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I've ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us, and pointing to me said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up, and I sat on Santa's knee, and he asked, "Now, what would you like for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's big bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from the reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood, holding the bell high above him, and called out, The First Gift of Christmas. A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us and then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said, but the train gave a sudden jerk and started moving, and we were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas," he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C." I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe.
Hello, I'm Diane Riley. I was a former second grade teacher in Lunenburg. I'm going to be reading The Little Snowplow, Wishes for Snow by Laura Kohler and Jake Parker. The little snowplow loved his job on the mighty mountain road crew. All year long, he helped the other trucks with their digging, pulling, and lifting. But the little snowplow loved plowing snow best of all, so he always wished for a snowy winter. In spring, he searched until he found a 4-leaf clover to wish on. In summer, his wish sailed on the breeze with the dandelion seeds. When fall arrived, he stayed up late to wish on a shooting star. Finally, cold winds started to blow. Time for snow. The little snowplow went through his exercises to make sure everything was in working order. Beep, beep. Then he tuned in to the weather forecast. No snow. He drove to the top of the mountain. Gray clouds stacked high into the sky, but no snow. What we need is a way to welcome winter, the cement mixer said. How about the Snokey Pokey on ice, suggested the water truck. All the trucks honked and beeped and blinked. The water truck sprayed the back parking lot. The moon rose. The water froze. In the morning, trucks slipped and slid onto the ice. They put their bumpers in, they put their bumpers out, they put their bumpers in, and they shook them all about. There were only a few mishaps. When the little snowplow got back to the garage, he felt happy and hopeful. The first day of winter was only days away. Surely it would snow then. But the winter solstice brought glittering stars, no snow. The little snowplow carried firewood to the park for a bonfire to light up the longest night of the year. January brought the northern lights, but no snow. The little snowplow graded trails. February brought flurries, but nothing stuck. The little snowplow delivered valentines. The little snowplow's birthday was at the beginning of March. As it drew closer, he started to worry. I heard this is the warmest winter ever, the cement mixer said. Don't listen to her, said the steamroller. I'm sure we'll have snow soon. Or maybe we'll go all winter without any snow at all, the dump truck said. The little snowplow turned his bumper on that horrible thought. He focused instead on planning his birthday party. First, he invited his friends. Woohoo, a party! For me? I dig parties. Then he made snow decorations and planned snow games. At least we can pretend we have snow, the little snowplow thought. But when he woke up the morning of his birthday, snow! His birthday party would have to wait. He had a job to do. Beep, beep, vroom. The little snowplow plowed the streets of Mighty Mountain. But it kept snowing, so he plowed the streets again. But it still kept snowing. His headlights started to sag. His plow started to drag. He wondered if the other trucks were celebrating his birthday without him. As he plowed Silver Fork, he heard a rumbling. He turned onto Main Street. Surprise! All clear, his friends honked and beeped and blinked. Happy birthday! Together, they paraded back to the garage. They played Pin the Tail on the Yeti. They made snow trucks. They had a snow battle. Then the dump truck brought out a cake. When the little snowplow blew out the candles, he made a wish for more snow. Beep, beep, vroom.
Thank you for watching Lunenburg Storytime, the books we love. If you'd like to get involved and become a reader, we'd love to have you come into our studio and read a book that you love. Our contact information is lunenburgaccess@gmail.com. So send us an email today and let us know if you'd like to become a reader. Thank you.